So, good day everyone. I am Ralph Christian Mendoza and I'm here to tackle my The Great Pretender Fact or Fictional presentation. So, before I start, I want to have this disclaimer that this topic of mine will be some sort of interesting because, it is kind of relevant. So, how did I say that this topic is interesting? Because it is about China. So, what's the matter about China? What are we going to talk about? So this is an article that I found in Twitter and then I use it because it's yes interesting. So as you can see in the headline there, China cautions G7, small groups don't rule the world. Hmm, what's that all about? The G7 or the Group of Seven is a group of countries which is composed of the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, France, Japan, Canada, and Italy. It is on June 13 when a Chinese spokesman in London said that the only valid global system was the international order, based on the principles of the United Nations, and not the so-called rules formulated by a small number of countries. Because, based from a source, it is Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau who led the meeting of the G7 to discuss an effective approach to the challenges posed by the People's Republic of China. So basically, China is like
你愚蠢的联盟不统治世界。
So, what seems to be the conflict? Number one, he said that the time when small groups of nations decided the fate of the world is long gone. Number two, he said that all nations in the world are equal and world affairs should be handled through consultation of each and every country in the world. Yeah. And number three, the West in particular, he said, is still gripped by an outdated imperial mindset. Now, is the claim that small groups don't rule the world a fact or a fiction? Well, here's my take. As much as we want equality for all nations, we cannot erase the fact that there will be leading nations that subconsciously or intended will be a major ruling force, especially in economic matters. And of course, these countries are major players also in the making of the UN rules, right? The ruling that I'm talking about is not political. Why? Because remember, each country has its own sovereignty. So what am I talking about? It is said that G7, which is composed of the aforementioned countries, is not just a small alliance of countries, but instead it is an alliance of some of the most powerful, democratic, and economically progressive countries in the world. In fact, the group as of 2018 is making $317 trillion, or close to 60% of the global net wealth, and 32 to 46% of the global gross domestic product. And those are very big numbers, and the underestimation of the group is in vain, right? And did you know that the formation of the rules and the organization per se was spearheaded by these countries? In fact, the first members of the then newly formed League of Nations, now the United Nations, was from this group, namely Great Britain, France, Japan, and Italy. And the United States of America, although not an original member, was vocal and supportive in its main goals and objectives. It is just ironic that China stating this is itself a superpower, just like in the West Philippine Sea or South China Sea as they call it. It is imposing their self-formulated nine-dash line. Isn't it assertion of power? Isn't it ruling? And that sums up my analysis for this topic. That's all. Thank you.